practical exercise training. Again, for those of you who are new to the Clearinghouse, there's a state and federal mandate for us to establish a clearinghouse for sharing information about the earthquake. And so Public Resources Code Section 2201 and FEMA NEHRP guidelines tell us we have to do this, but there really wasn't any guideline or blueprint for how that was supposed to work. But DHS also developed a technology called XchangeCore, which allows different applications that people use to talk to each other. And the idea, all we're trying to do is the Clearinghouse is all of our partners are self-directed. You don't tell anybody what to do, but the idea is to allow every organization to use whatever tool or technology that supports their role and responsibilities for disaster. And the Clearinghouse has no funding, so we have to find a way to be able to connect all these different applications that people are using. So that's what this is all about. We've been doing this for the last, this is our sixth exercise in 3.5 years and an earthquake. So today we are going to be talking about why do using ArcGIS Online and providing features and data to XchangeCore. Essentially, why is it a good idea to use something like ArcGIS Online with the Exchange connector instead of just using a GeoRSS feed or something like that. So we're going to show you what the benefits are. ArcGIS Online is a great tool on its own, but we want to be able to make it so that if you add information to your ArcGIS Online, you don't have to then turn around and log into something like WebEOC and enter the exact same data, because WebEOC and ArcGIS Online don't talk to each other, or Google Earth or any other application for that matter. So that's what we're doing today. So Jim, I will let you take it away.
Thank you, Anne, and good to talk to you again and all the rest of you who have been faithful participants here. So this is lesson 6. The other 5 lessons are available in recorded form, so you can catch up at any point if you're just stopping by for the first time now. This lesson is going to be about using ArcGIS Online with the XchangeCore connector that was developed for the California Office of Emergency Services and is now available to everyone. And what we're going to do is one of multiple features of that connector, and that is very specifically, how do I, having spent a whole lot of time building all my GIS data, tell somebody that there's something important about some one thing or two things on that GIS data. So what our focus is on taking ArcGIS Online features and turning them into situational awareness on something other than ArcGIS Online, an operational system like WebEOC, or a field system like Spot on Response, or a different geospatial visualization tool like Google Earth. And these are only being used as illustrators of what you can do with the data once it's into XchangeCore. So let's take a look at how we're going to go about doing that. And if I can make my screen move, let's go back and start with a use case. This use case is how we get those ArcGIS Online features to become Operation Situational Awareness. So the use case is you've developed a wonderful array of GIS layers, and you hear that a fire on a certain block is taking place, or that an earthquake shaking has caused damage in your area. And you want to provide situational awareness of the known infrastructure to Clearinghouse members for 2 things. One, effectively making an assignment, even though they're all self-directed, making an assignment that says, here's something that I have in my geodatabase that ought to be looked at because of something I've heard or understood. And secondly, for their own individual health and safety. If that happens to be a toxic waste dump, you might want to let your friends know that it's out there and there's a problem with it. For the exercise, anywhere in the country, any of you can use your ArcGIS Online to identify a GIS feature, provide them to XchangeCore. And you can do that in a way that helps build the scenario of the exercise. You can pick that toxic waste site and say, gee, here's a potential for environmental degradation. I can give you all the information about the toxic waste site. You guys decide how you want to play the exercise. Who's going to respond to it, how you're going to have an observed feature for that. Secondly, once you do that, applications that are connected to XchangeCore then consume those GIS features that are no longer in GIS. They're now in an operational tool, which then orchestrates those features to use with other data that's there that can then be used in a GIS, of course. You can put it back in an ArcGIS Online, but it can be used for those operations applications, for GIS and other statistical analytics, or to build a common operating picture. So that's why you care about this. What we're going to do today, I'm going to show you how to identify features that are of interest and available in your ArcGIS Online maps, how to prepare the output to be exchanged through XchangeCore, and then we'll look at how we visualize that output in WebUC, Spot On Response, and Google Earth. And then hopefully you'll practice. So, what we want to do here, fundamental interactions. ArcGIS features become incident assignments to observe. You see all these different interactions that we've dealt with before. The specific ones we're going to deal with now are ArcGIS Online creating incidents that will then be viewed in Spot On Response, viewed in WebUC, and viewed in Google Earth. That's where we're going today. All right, so let's take this one and bring it over on this side and start out. What I've got on this side is a WebUC connected to the XchangeCore, that is the Clearinghouse XchangeCore. And over on this side, I've got two components. I've got a ArcGIS Online web map. We've seen this before. We have some school closures here and things that are coming from from XchangeCore, having been put in by things like WebUC and Spot On Response, as well as other, and I'm going to turn those off right now, as well as what I would call more traditional layers of information that are available inside a GIS. What do we have here? Assisted property housing properties. There, we got a bunch of those. And if I click on one of those, it says no information available. Part of the luck of the draw, I'm going to take U.S. airports. You've got some of those. I'm going to click on that. And yeah, there we got the San Rafael, California airport, and I've got district offices, and I got counties, and I got a leading facility, and I got the owner, and all that stuff that's been collected through very diligent efforts to tell me that I've got a 2,000-foot runway there. That's really, really valuable information. Question is, what do I do with it now? How do I, in the aftermath of an earthquake, tell you that that airport might matter in some way without sitting down in WebUC and typing in the fact that there's an airport and there's a 2,000-foot runway and here's the name of the control tower and all the rest of it? What am I going to do? Well, we're going to use the XchangeCore connector for ArcGIS Online. And for those of you who have used the user's guide, you know that XchangeCore connector is found by using this link. And at the end of that is the web map that you care about. Over here, we got a web map ID number over here. That's the same thing that we're using over here in this ArcGIS Online connector. We're doing that so that we're all looking at the same thing. I'm going to put my user's name in here and my password. And this is the ArcGIS Online username and password because I can't get into ArcGIS Online without having access to it. And what I now have is the same map we were looking at over there, same map. And what we have are the same layers of information that you saw over there on the other one, wastewaters in U.S. airports and other things like that. And we have the XchangeCore observations, XchangeCore incidents that are there, and there's that fallen tree or one of the other things that we got out there. I'm going to turn those off just as I did before because it's not what we're focusing on here. And I'm going to turn on a couple of different layers here. Let's try those airports. We'll do a wastewater treatment plant, and we'll do hazardous waste sites. I think that those are probably three that we can begin to play with, so I can show you both the beauty and the beast of working with this kind of data. So upper right-hand corner, I've got my XchangeCore connector. The link here is the one that Anne has published in multiple cases on how you get into share information through the XchangeCore, and I'm going to fetch information. I was on here before, so it didn't come and ask me for my username and password again. Anne has provided username and passwords for multiple organizations, and that would have come up there if I hadn't been in this one before, because my browser cached that information. So what do I see here? Well, I see all the incidents that we've been dealing with over the last few weeks, which I'm also seeing over here. There's a tree limb down, school closures, and fallen tree blocking the road. I got a fallen tree blocking the road. What I do when I click on that, I have a blue X that shows up on the screen, and the map centers on it because something now tells me I care about this. All right, what I want to do though is play through a couple of little scenarios here. First one being that I've got a problem at whatever this is. What is this? Of course, no information available on that one. How about this one, guys? All right. Let me go back here. Find something that I know is going to work just so that we've got it. All right. Here we've got a this nice information pops up, has all the right information. It's a wastewater treatment plant that's set up there. It's Covella Community Services Organization. We have a problem there. I just heard about it. How do I communicate the fact that I have some information that's of utility to the people who are going to respond to that emergency? I'm going to select that as a feature over here in my ArcGIS Online connector. I'm going to say, hey, we're dealing with wastewater treatment plants right there. And it centers me back on that other incident. I don't care about that. I'm going to come in here and say I have a single item and I want to know about that wastewater treatment plant. I've now highlighted that in red and yellow. And what I want to do is now say I want to add this as an incident. Click on that incident item right there. What I get is whatever we can decipher out of the data that was in that pop-up box that you saw. So we managed to find an address because that was coded in some way. The name happened not to be beautiful. We've got latitude and longitude there. But under this description, down here, I'm going to scroll through here, and you're going to see all of the data that was in the pop-up box for that feature. So I'm now able to capture that out of my exclusive proprietary ArcGIS Online format. There's the Main Street and Covella, California, and all that stuff. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say potential release at wastewater treatment plant. Okay, I can put some reason, I can put disposition down there, but most importantly, I'm now taking all this information that I spent a whole lot of time getting into my GIS, and I'm now providing it out, and it has up here, it tells me I've successfully created an incident on ArcGIS Online, and bingo, right there, potential release of wastewater treatment plant on WebEOC. You have taken, carefully structured, difficult to obtain GIS information, and you have now shared it out with your operational, let me close that up, with your operational units that don't have access to that data. If I click on this details button there, I'm going to see that I've got all that information in a fairly ugly format here, because WebEOC hasn't done anything to try and take that ArcGIS Online structure out there. But what do I have is the information that resides there. So I can come off and find that street name, and I can find the guy who's running the show, and it's part of the community services and all the rest of it. Again, not beautiful because the WebEOC group has not made it beautiful, but the data got there. And I'm now talking about effective sharing of information from a GIS back to an operational system. I want to pull over and just give you a different look here at the spot-on response tool set for that. And if I come up here, I happen to know that it was up there, but I pop that up, I'm going to see that I've got that release for that. And where is that? Down here someplace. Where in that area, I would actually be able to see that. But what I've got, come on. Potential release at wastewater treatment plant. If I click on that, now you see in spot on response, that's nicely formatted. So I can go in there and find out the address and the location and how many gallons per day they're doing and all that's stuff that has been shared as part of the GIS layer. So what I've done in that very quick movement is taken my layer of GIS information, selected a feature that's relevant to something, and provided that over to operational systems. Let's do another one just so that you see all the beauty of this. And as I... Yes, please. Oh, absolutely. Sorry, I got rolling.
Let's say you took something from Arcgis Online and it populated in WebEOC and spot on response. And let's say operational team in the field got it and they said, oh, I looked at it and this is what's going on. Can they take that, modify attributes or cut information in Arcgis, in spot on response or WebEOC so that it's reflected back in Arcgis Online on that same point?
Yes. You're getting to next week's lesson, but effectively, I would not be modifying the ArcGIS Online data. I would be adding to that tree of knowledge that we talked about in the past. I'd be adding that information in. And let me just very quickly show how we do that. I've got my wastewater treatment plant that I just took a look at in spot on response. I'm not located near it, so it's going to make a little less sense, but I can come in here and say, let's update that information. And I'm going to say, see no problem. When I do that, and I'll just do that quickly. Again, you can attach pictures or anything like that. So I've sent that off there. And let me put spot on response over there. Each one of them is going to poll. But on this side, if I were monitoring observations being made to incidents around that I've been pushing out there, those assignments that I'm being made. And actually, this is going to be a stupid example because I was located way down here. And that's not going to make it very easy for me to find. I should have moved myself up. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do it. Let me take a second because I can't observe that from San Francisco. So if you're playing in the exercise, we're going to want to move up to that location up there. And if you were in real life, you would be driving at this point. And I'm going to say I'm going to set my location. And I'm going to come up to this wastewater treatment plant that's out there. And I'm going to set there. So now I'm there. So now it makes a little bit more sense that if I'm going to come and look, and you note that it's now the top item on my list because I'm closest to it. So I'm now going to say, yes, I've seen this thing and I see only minor leakage from side of whatever tank. All right, so let's do that one. I've submitted it. So I've got that happening there, and in a few seconds, that's going to pop up over here and be part of the incident that I have. Let me come over here. This one might be set up to work faster. Where the heck is my wastewater treatment? Turn these guys on. And give it a second. It'll show up over here. So to answer your question in a somewhat convoluted way, I see that. I treat it as an assignment. Somebody makes an observation, and that observation then gets shared back through XchangeCore and becomes available up on ArcGIS Online. And I just want to make a quick check here to make sure that I did set that up. I didn't refresh it. Okay. Yep. All right. Well, that'll go off and refresh, and then it will pop up there. So is that where you were getting with that question, Svetlana?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Let me move that guy over there. Going to do a couple of things just to show you the some of the issues that you can will have to deal with as part of this. It's all dependent on the data. So I come over here and I say, gee, let's do exactly what I just did. Fetch those things again so we're all cleaned up. I'm going to move that over there. I'm going to pick any one of those guys and I'm going to select a feature. I'm going to call these U.S. hazardous waste sites, and I want one of those to show up, and I'm going to pick that one right there. Great. Let's add that as an incident. Here you get, that's interesting. Here you get, sorry, let me clear that out. I don't know why I was getting that. Let's go back here. I'm going to pick that hazardous waste site. I'm going to come over there and click on that, pick that guy, say I've got one of those, add that as an incident, and here is data that is going to be coming from that to be able to fly through there and all the stuff. So a separate way of dealing with it. If we take that off and go and grab one of these other layers, we did wastewater. Let's take airports and pick an airport. Close that up. Where do we see airports that were floating around out here? Let me turn off those hazardous waste sites. All right, that makes it a little bit clearer. And let me add what was good. Stores were very good. These stores, distribution outlets. Another example. I got a whole bunch of those. I want to select a feature. It's going to be those sales things. Going to do a single one, and I'm going to make it this one over there. I'm going to add that to the incident, and here it didn't pick up the name and address that were there. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. The reason I'm flying through these is to give you some illustrations of different ways the data is interpreted and what you're going to have. There's your McDonald's. So I would quickly grab this and move it up here because that McDonald's didn't have something that was nice and clean like name. The connector goes in and tries to find whatever it can and make that possible. I'm now going to submit that, and that's created. And somewhere over here, we may end up seeing, before our next couple of minutes is out, may end up seeing a McDonald's show up right up over here in WebEOC, over here on Spot On Response. That's the lesson. XchangeCore connector, rich set of data. I've got a problem. I want to share with everybody what I saw, not just my other ArcGIS Online friends, but I want to push it out to WebUC, spot on response, and yeah, you've seen this plenty of times, but I'll conclude with it that I've got my, where did that sidebar thing go? Over there. And if I refresh that, someplace in here, I'm going to see a McDonald's show up. And do we see a McDonald's there? Yep, there's my McDonald's. I can use that to go in and see all that information again here, not beautifully formatted, but I've moved the data around. And
this is relevant too, because again, one of the things that we're focusing on, or trying to learn in this exercise as well, is thinking about how we enter data, how we format it, how do we categorize things so that we can use it in all these different applications differently. Sometimes your own application or your own technology has a specific format, and that's what you're stuck with. But sometimes you have the opportunity to format the data yourself, and you put in text description, things like that. So one of the things we're trying to learn here is, when people are working with it in this way, if you're in the SOC and you are working in Arcgis Online and you have to, you see information coming in from the field, or you get a report in from the phone that, hey, this is an incident, something that's on your map that you need to turn into an incident and share out so that everybody in WebUC who's not in the SOC can see that. Because, then we want to start thinking about, how other people are going to be using that information and making it more useful to them. So this is one of the things that we're interested in exploring and seeing how this all works for the exercise. We've never, as again, I've said before, we haven't done this before. We've never, not at this level certainly. And so the more organizations, the more of you that we have participating, we'll get a better sense of, what works. How, do we have, how do we characterize potential elements of information? How do we categorize those things? So we're going to be, discussing that more in coming weeks.
all right, I'm wrapped up on this side. Anybody with any questions?
Just a comment. This is Phil Balin, and I think it's worthwhile to emphasize that we're seeing here are several ways to get field data from different softwares to move from one software to another, a data stream that can be read into different software. But management of an overall data set, for example, the wastewater, might be done in terms of what its status is in a more complete data set by a particular custodian of that data set. And so again, I look at this as input data for helping decision makers who manage different lifelines or other kinds of features to edit them. What do you think?
Yeah. And that's, ultimately, you can get it, there are templates out there, and that's great. That's a good start. But then you want to be able to combine that information and really start doing some analysis to really understand what's going on. It's one thing to have a map full of, okay, here's where the shelters are open and closed, but you also want to be able to add information about, say, a toxic release and what's the status of that. And when and like you were saying, Phil, I think you brought up an example like critically used facilities or vulnerable population data. It's not it's one thing to know just that there's a shelter that's downwind of a specific plume, but you want to know how many people are in there, how many beds. And so, being able to do that kind of analysis adds even more to the situational awareness. And ultimately, that's what we're building toward, is being able to share the data so that it can be used in more ways.
And this is Jonathan Caldwell out of Region 9. And for us, that's huge, because when we're in our response coordination center, we really don't have a lot of visibility on what, some of the emerging threats until we hear about them through spot reports or similar things like that are pushed up from the state. So the quicker we can get information, especially, you're talking about a plume for a toxic release, we have sites that we plan out for staging, or where we might set points of distribution, where we would get commodities to the locals, the counties and such, so they can get them out to the people that are affected. So the sooner we can get that information, the sooner we can say, okay, wait, we're sending people to an area that there's a potential hazard, so we need to move people to a different spot or find alternate locations for our staging. So I think it's great. The quicker we can move this critical information, the better.
And then if you decide to move your location, you can put that on your map and you can make that an incident, and that gets shared out to everybody else at the same time. So yeah, it definitely, you can see how these things are going to, go back and forth as people see that information, add to it, and add their analysis and their assessment of what the I'm not familiar with all the right terms, but the outcome or what the impact is maybe of all of those things happening at once, and provide an update of, okay, what does it really mean? Okay, any other questions?
Yes, this is Doug Shank from Santa Clara County. I noticed that you have a dynamic WebEOC board up during the demonstration, and I may have missed it, but did you explain how we could actually bring that board into our own WebEOC status?
Yes, the board is freely available from the XchangeCore community, and this is Jim Morenz. Shoot me an email, and we can package it up. It just gets copied onto your own WebEOC, just like any other board. Takes a minute or two, and then will be able to be connected into the Clearinghouse core, and you'll get this dynamic information exactly as you see it here.
Excellent. Thank you. I'll do that.
Okay, good.